I know I'm not given a proper description of these books, but bear with me. Hello everyone, this is Kistel, and I want to talk about all the books that I got from the library this month. It's a huge collection, so bear with me, but I want to tackle this today with you. So here we go. So this is The Happiest Girl in the World by Elena Dillon, and this follows a girl named Sarah who is on fast track to become an Olympian star in the gymnastics field. When a coach that she'd been training with been accused of sexual harassment with some other gymnasts, and she's gonna report this gymnastics doctor, or she's gonna focus her energy on her career. Yes, I'm excited to read this. You know, I think that it's very relevant to our times, and this is one of the books that I got from the library. I also got Big Swiss by Jen Beagin. This book follows a sex therapist, Greta, who falls for one of her clients who she calls the Big Swiss, and she meets them in real life and decides to strike up a relationship with them, a friendship, romantic. I'm not really too sure if it's a friendship or romantic relationship with them, but it turns into some sort of like obsession situation. So, Big Swiss. I'm excited to read this. The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. This is a Prime show, and I actually haven't watched the show, but I've seen commercials, and I think the commercials them are pretty cool. And I don't really know what this is about per se. I think it's about this girl who the summer she turned pretty, and she's involved in the lives of two brothers or something like that. But I am excited to read this. Next book that I picked up was Chlorine by Jade Song. I actually got this from Kaylin Books and Lala. She recommended this book, and there's a lot of books on her channel that I've picked up because of her loving it, and she loves everything weird. So this is about a girl named Ren who has been obsessed with mermaids her entire life. I'm not really too sure if she's becoming into a mermaid or want to be a mermaid, but one thing is clear is that she wants to be free from the pain and suffering in her life, and she loves mermaids for everything that they represent in terms of independence. And I want to pick up this book as well. The next book I got was The Ingenuine by Rachel Capper Kendale. This book is about a girl who is a pianist, and her late mother leaves her house to her abuser, and she is trying to figure out why that's the case. And it goes back into different timelines of her teacher who abused her, and of her time and now as an adult trying to rectify that situation as well, trying to come to terms with it and to overcome it, and to just Survivor Chronicles essentially. And this is another book that I got from the library. Nightmares by Siren Zezao. Oh my god, I'm so sorry I pronounced his name incorrectly. But this book is about a city where if you're not careful, you become your worst nightmares. And the main character of this book, her sister became a man-eaten spider, which is her nightmares. So she's so terrified that she's gonna end up like her sister and become a nightmare, that she just stay cocoons in her environments. That's all I really know that's all I really know about the story. I want to go into it blind, but I think this entire City of Nightmares situation, it's a pretty cool concept. It reminds me of a V.E. Schwab book, The Verity. It's like the song, the one with the monster song or whatever that V.E. Schwab wrote in the past. So I'm gonna get into this. The next book that I picked up was Threads That Bind by Kika Katsopalu. Kika Katsopalu. And the Threads That Bind follows a girl who's one of three sisters who can weave different threads or life threads. It's, I guess it's it's inspired of mythology where time, your life is on a specific thread. You have the weavers, you have the cutters. I don't remember who the third person is, but I think she's the weaver or cutter. I don't really know, but she is a detective, and I think someone is cutting the lives of threads from people before they're supposed to. So she goes into investigate with this guy who is connected with her because they have a rare soulmate thread connection. That's all I know. First of all, look how pretty this book is. It's so shiny and magnifying and pretty. I'm excited to read this. Georgie All the Way by Kate Clayborn. And this book follows Georgie, and Georgie is down on her luck because she's in between jobs. So she comes home and she finds a childhood book of all the and her childhood book explains all the things that she wants to do in her life when she's a specific age. And she realizes, damn, I was so inventive and interesting when I was a child. I wish I could have some of that inspiration as an adult. Who doesn't wish that? But she wishes that. So she gets on this adventure with the town troublemaker, so to speak, Levi Fannin, and they fall in love while they try to accomplish some things in her childhood fantasy book that she found. So I have My Murder by Katie Williams. I've actually read this book already. It's just the rating, I gave it like a 3 out of 5 stars. But this book is about in the future where clones are happening. People are cloning. They're different scientific things, technological thing that are like advancement. But it follows this woman that was cloned after her death, because she was murdered by a serial killer. And this company decides to clone the women that were murdered by the serial killer, kind of like almost like a resurrection. And this has a various of backlash or excitement from people who either approves of this or doesn't approve of what's happening in terms of their cloning business per se. But the main character, is trying to figure out who killed her, who is responsible for her death, and she's trying to put the pieces together, and we go on that journey with her. The next book is Nora Goes Off Script by Annabelle Monaghan. It follows a romance screenwriter named Nora, who, after some troubles in her life domestically, she kind of goes off script and follow her own path and way. And in the meantime, she gets connected to the world's most sexiest man, those articles that come out Time magazine. And they make a connection. It's a rom-com, I think. That's all I know so far about the story. I'm not really doing a good job telling you about what these books are because I like to go into these books blind when I read them. But when I do my book review, it should be more better than this. Next is The Way That I Used to Be by Amber Smith, and it's about a girl named Eden who, after some traumatic things in her past, I'm just gonna read this. It says, Eden was always good at being good. Started in high school, didn't change who she was, but the night her brother's best friend rapes her, Eden's world capsizes. So it shows her journey through the horrific things that happened to her and how she changes because of that. Obviously, this is going to be a book that is very emotionally stirring. And I'm going to be reading this book soon because it's definitely very relevant to our times. Stacey Willingham is this new author in the mystery thriller scene, and this book called All the Dangerous Things. And it focuses on a mother who unfortunately lost her toddler one night and she hasn't slept since. And she decides to she spends her entire waking hours looking for what happened to her toddler. Then she's invited to a true crime podcast and just gets interviewed by this guy that wants to find out about her experience and her trauma. And a lot of things she realizes that she's been storing away from that particular night, and it's revealed to her through this podcast. And now she starts looking suspicious. So all these dangerous things I'm looking forward to reading as well. The book that I have is A Likely Story by Leigh McCullen Abrason. I love books within books, and this book follows let me just read what it says in the flop. The only child of an iconic American novelist discovers a tangle of family secrets and appends everything she thought she knew about her parents, her gilded youth, and her own faltering writing career. So Isabel finds a book from her family, and she starts uncovering a lot of family secrets through this book. So I love books within books, so I'm excited to read this. If you ever wondered if the bad review that you leave on Goodreads an author is going to get back to you in a negative way, then this book might be for you. The Last Word by Taylor Adams follows an author. It follows a woman who swears that an author that she left a negative review on is following her, it's stalking her. And we find out whether or not that's true. So I'm excited to read this. It's probably going to be something that I read pretty soon. The Last Word. Who's going to get the last word in this? A Half Moon by Mary Beth Keane, and this is the author who wrote Ask Again, Yes. This is a domestic story that follows this guy named Malcolm and his wife named Jess. They just bought the Half Moon, which is, I think it's like a hotel or restaurant situation. It follows the lives of the people within the community that you see through the lens of Malcolm and Jess. And it's probably more for one of those quiet domestic literary fiction books that I love so much that a lot of people might read and say this is super boring, but I'm excited to pick this up because there's always some sort of domestic drama or that's happening. I love stories like that, so this is what I'm gonna read as well. So the next thing I have is Before We Were Innocents by Ella Berman, and it follows three friends that go abroad in Europe, in Greece specifically, but only two returns at the end of this trip. We find out through the story what happened to the other friend. I mean, did these other friends have something to do with it? Are they keeping the secrets? And we try to piece together what happens through this entire specific journey. I'm excited to read this. I'm not really too sure if it's a murder mystery, literary fiction. Based on the cover, it looks like a contemporary literary fiction, not so much a murder mystery, but I could be wrong. Actually, I was recommended this book by one of my friends, so I'm going to pick it up. I mean, I picked it up at a library. I picked it up. Con artist, bamboozling. If those words are something that strikes your fancy, you might like Stone Cold Fox by Rachel Collar Crofts. Stone Cold Fox follow a woman who has been conning people her entire life since she learned from the best. She learned from her mom. And now she wants to do her final con by marrying some rich, unsuspecting guy. Unfortunately, that rich, unsuspecting guy has a friend who's onto her. Is onto her because they think that she might be a con artist, and now she has to do everything in her power in order to make it seem like she's not conning this guy at all. It says a witty, funny book, and I can't wait to read it. Stone Cold Fox. I love women that are doing bad things in books, personally. So I also got A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. I might actually buy this physical copy because I don't know if I'm going to read it this month in time for the library, but it follows a guy named Jack who goes back to his childhood island, partners up with his childhood enemy because they are partnered together because women are going missing on the island. This island is very strange and mystical and enchanted, a river enchanted. Half of the island is prosperous, the other half of the island is not and is suffering. And some mysteries and magical things abodes. So that's this book. They're Gonna Love You by Meg Howry. This book is about a ballerina during the 80s or early 90s, I think. Her father is a dancer, and she went to get mentorship from him and his partner, and this is during the time of the AIDS epidemic. So it's one of those emotionally stirring books. It's literary fiction. I call it quiet literary fiction book, where a lot of things don't really necessarily happen. It's a character study, and I love books that really focuses on just like the inner workings between family dynamics and about coming of age stories. And who doesn't like books about dancers? So this is a book that I got too. I got The Drowning Kind by Jennifer McMahon, and this is about a girl whose sisters drowned in a pool of their childhood home, and she had to go and investigate why her sister was back there, and she uncovers a lot of family secrets along the way. So any book that has to do with family secrets and has to do with having some sort of gothic elements, just like houses that has gothic elements, is always something that I want to read, so I picked this up. The next book that I pick up was Sisters of the Lost Nation by Nick Medina, and it follows this girl who's being haunted by a ghoul or a ghost. That's all I know so far, is that she's being haunted by this creature. Nobody sees this creature but her. You know, every waking hour, she sees this creature just following her around while she does ordinary things. And it's a horror story. It's one of the popular horror stories of the year. So I'm excited to pick this up. I've actually read the first chapter. I read the first chapter of a lot of these books, but this one I'm like super excited to dig back into. The next book I picked up was The First Day of Spring by Nancy Tucker, and it follows this girl named Chrissy that when Chrissy was a child, she was like the bad seed. She murdered some other kid and she liked it. And years down in the line, 20 years down in the line, Chrissy changed her name. She now has her daughter named Molly, and she is just trying to overcome what she used to be as a horrific bad seed child. And we see dual perspectives of her when she was younger and her as an adult, and just the psychological aspects of that. So it's a mystery thriller, but it's really more like a psychological thriller. So I'm excited to pick this up. Next book that I have is Blues for Nightmare by Lori Faria Stolars. This book follows Stacy as she starts to investigate her friend Drea, who's being stalked, and she wants to find out who the stalker is, and she's going to use all her magic in order to find out who this person is. She also has a thing for her friend's boyfriend. It's in the summary in the back of the book. It's not something that's a spoiler. That's interesting. This is one of the books that I think this book came out in like 2007 or something like that. So if you know about YA books during that time, it's probably going to be a love triangle. I'm picked this book up I just went to the library and said, this looks interesting. And I picked this book up. I slightly regret it, but I'm not really too sure if I'm going to read it. I was going through something when I picked it up, to be honest. But yeah, this is the last book that I picked up from the library. Okay, so those are all my library books that I picked up for the month of August. I'm super excited to get into them. I'm super excited to read these books, and when I do my latest book review at the end of the month, I'll let you know which one of these books did I actually read. So, thank you so much for watching. Bye.